This is what we're going to be reviewing today. So I put this one on the top of the stack, and so that's how we'll talk about it. And this is what we're having for our dinner today. It's a pizza, and
it looks better on the blue plate because it's
the color.
Kind of.
Yeah, but there's tomatoes in this, and James
I'm
doesn't
going to
want
save
to
my
eat them,
tomatoes.
so I guess I'm not going to eat
I
them.
do want to eat them, but I'm going to eat them with a cheese sandwich or something like that. I don't want it to be any messier than necessary, but it's a good idea. Now, these mushrooms you prepared in a slightly different way than you did.
No, I just somehow it didn't get soggy, or as soggy.
It is a little soggy.
A little soggy.
What the heck?
But anyway,
the crust is nice.
I have
here.
Lots of it. I don't know if you can see this in the camera. You probably can't, but I'll show you. Because James was commenting. He's like, oh, those look good. And they do.
Now, they're a little overdue for being put in the ground.
And see, I have them labeled there. CCB. And I know what that means. I only have so many types of tomatoes that I'm growing. And that's Crimson Cushion beefsteak. There's that one. So, and I have lots of others laid out here. But I think I'm going to put the Crimson Cushion beefsteak in the back. It's going to be tough finding spots, but I'll do it. So
CCB. CCTV is closed circuit TV. CCB in Swedish could be something like closed circuit. Of course, they probably have a closed circuit bio. Bio is what they call movies. Germans tend to call movies Kino. Kinematic or something like that. Kino.
So,
but
I thought it was a good idea. It seemed like a good idea to talk about food and
well, you were listening to a lot of stuff about
sustainable living and whatever. I'm going to put this down because it's delicious, but
I just finished eating, folks. I ate at 6 and then I ate a little bit more just now. But this is good.
So this is how I've been eating, because when I'm gardening like this, I'm very busy. And then I'm really pooped. And I've been doing this for several days, I don't know, weeks straight, and I'm exhausted.
Mushrooms and tomatoes are good toppings. Pizzas are actually healthy, just so long as you don't eat too much of them, they'd be fattening.
Yeah. But I guess I should show you what I'm doing over there and stuff. So you've already seen the backyard that has at least 150 tomatoes planted in it now. And I've planted them in a couple different ways. Planted some are on, in hoops, and they're in hoops, but some are on the ground, and those will do well on bare, like they're in the bare earth. And the ones in the mulch, well, they'll do well too, but they won't hardly need any water, and they won't produce as much fruit. And I know this because I've done it before. And I thought, before I even did it, before I put the mulch on the last time when we grew tomato rows and under mulch like that, I thought, well, mulch keeps the soil cold or cooler, right? And a lot of the time that's a good thing, but for when you're growing things like tomatoes, well, they like the warm soil. And so I started, years ago, I started doing peat bale row with tomatoes and stuff and other things, because I was thinking, well, they do it in the greenhouses. They'll grow things like cucumbers, whatever, and tomato in peat bale. And what I do is I get these I'll show you. These bales of compressed peat. And so there's some over there. And I then take out a lot of the peat, like probably, well, at least a quarter of the bale worth of peat, and I put the stuff in pots, the excess. And then I fluff up because it's compressed in there. You want it nice and fluffy. So then I keep it compressed along the outside of the bale, so that keeps it rigid. And I take the shovel and I just fluff up where I'm going to be planting in the middle. So then it works out really well. So when I started doing that, I thought it's going to be like raised beds, because raised beds, you get a longer growing season. Raised beds, and so that's one reason why people do it. And plus, when I'm using these sunshine peat bales, well, they're black, so they're going to stay warm. And so then I'll run a soaker hose along the length, and so then I can keep them wet. And what I do at my house is I like to keep them on a timer, because it's a lot of work. But James is wanting to do it. He likes to have more control, and he wants to do it with quick connects, because it's a pain screwing and unscrewing hoses. So I'll get talking about this. I've been putting my smallest tomatoes in the peat bale row here, because I figure this row, like, it's right near the road, which is hot, and the peat bales, they're black, they're hot, they're going to be warm, and it's quite a sunny spot. In fact, it's sunny. It gets more sun than my peat bale row, and my peat bale row does well. So I think this is going to do really well. So I don't think it matters that I'm putting the smallest ones in there and the biggest ones.
They're going to make them for a long time.
They will, yeah.
And I guess the principle is tomatoes, some like it hot. They all like it hot.
Yeah. So anyway, The Man Who Tried to Feed the World. This got top of the stack. It's a PBS thing, and I like watching the PBS things, although, like, I watch them with a grain of salt. I think, okay, well, maybe a little bit of propaganda, whatever. But
could be worse. It could be CBC. Could be way worse. Could be the BBC.
Yeah. So anyway, it's about I can't remember his name. Oh, I should know. It'll probably come to me after. But anyway, he was the one who developed wheat he's responsible for the Green Revolution, basically. So this is about the Green Revolution, the guy who developed wheat. And I mean, now there's people talking about in some of these other things, and elsewhere, people are talking about, well, they're wanting to go back to the ancient grains rather than the newer cultivars, like used by him and others. What I hadn't realized, Norman Borlaug, there's the name, and I hadn't remembered that at all. So I'm glad it was written there, because I didn't remember it. So anyway, he'd done some work first in Mexico, I think it was, and then later in India. And then, so he was producing wheat that was just so huge, so much kernel of wheat, so much wheat, grains of wheat on each plant. And so he was thinking, this is it. This is going to solve world hunger, whatever. Well, yeah, like, you try to solve world hunger, and just more people keep breeding, and then more people go hungry, and it's just what do you do? So
it's trying to get to the end of the rainbow.
Yeah.
It's always going to stay ahead of you.
Yeah, and they're talking about it in this too. There was one guy, I like this one. There was a young farmer in this who was talking about how the farmers that are getting subsidies for corn and whatever, they wouldn't they wouldn't be able to survive on, they wouldn't be able to make a living doing it if it weren't for the subsidies. And then you're looking at this and going, okay, they were talking about, at one, I can't remember when it was, at one point, when they were really going hard with the Green Revolution, they were sending the United States was sending 1/5 of their wheat, I think it was, or maybe it might have been all of the main staples, but the wheat anyway. The 1/5 of it was going just to India, and then they were predicting that it was going to have to be more, like half or something, and then they were talking. Well, it's been a while now. They've been talking about it's not a problem of not having enough food, it's a problem of distribution. But really, so they're kind of hinting at it here with India. Is the food getting to the poor people when it's being sent over? Or what's happening, right? But
You can solve all those problems, you still got a population increase.
yeah, so really, what are you going to do about that? Anyway, what I didn't know is he didn't take out patents, Norman Borlaug. He didn't take out patents on any of the stuff. Just gave it away. He really thought it was going to solve the world's problem. I mean, when he was developing this stuff, there were major problems with the world, and there are again, because nothing was solved. Now there's more people to starve and die, basically.
It's not just starving, they're getting clunked together in places where they're cheek to jowl. That causes aggression, fighting, all this sort of stuff. It's shameful. India is one of the worst.
So what do you do? Anyway, I thought it was a good PBS documentary. Sustainable. This was, it says educational edition. But at first when I was watching this, I thought, oh, this is going to be lame. And then I saw the guy who was a baker, and I thought, wow, he does make me want to bake my own sourdough bread and stuff like that, right, or whatever. Because he seems so genuinely passionate about what he does. And anyway, and there were a few farmers here. You seem to know a little bit about
nutrition, huh?
Well, I don't know, but he really loved baking. And there was...
he was the one that was making sourdough bread, right?
Yes.
And we're talking a little bit about
okay.
nutrition.
And there was the Amish guy, who you couldn't see his face, because I guess he wasn't allowed to have...
his picture taken.
Yeah, face on. But you could see, like, the kind of the side back of him, or, they'd show other parts of him while he was talking. But anyway, he knew a lot. And really this documentary is mainly about one guy and his family. The young farmer that I was talking about is his son, and then his wife. They're farming, and they're trying to, while they're helping keep their farm alive, they're helping other people too. So they decided to really cut out the middlemen, and they're supplying high-end restaurants with products.
If you can cut out the middlemen.
Yeah, which, hey, that's a great idea. I mean, there's a lot of options for farmers that a lot of them aren't taking. Like the biggest little farm here, this is not next in the stack. There was one between it. I just wanted to mention this for a minute. This is really bad, but informative. So these guys, they know nothing about farming.
Don't try this at home or on the farm. They lucked out from what I can tell.
Yeah, well, I don't think it was really ever about creating a sustainable farm or like trying to garden with the environment or whatever. I don't think it was ever really about that. I think it was with these people. Oh, well, I should talk about it later, but the woman was, she had a culinary blog, and the man did wildlife photography, so he went all over the world doing, he was a professional, right? It's not amateur, he was professional. So
So
there's
both
really
of them
beautiful
are what personality type?
camera type, but there's really beautiful camera work
Yeah.
in here. It's lovely to watch,
Yeah.
but it's pretty vacuous. There's the woman, I expected more of her deciding, oh, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do, like make some value-added products to market or something. But she's so stupid that she doesn't even figure that out while she's doing her thing. So anyway, what I was going to say is, boy, what was I going to say?
Sorry.
Oh, dear. Anyway, this one's worth watching. This one not. Unless you want to watch some pretty shots of hummingbirds with their babies and
Or unless you want to find out what not to do.
yeah, maybe. But
Some of the
anyway,
stuff is a real object lesson in silliness.
I mean, they didn't do anything like go to. These guys. They set up their farm. Their farm's located. It was 200 acres. That's a lot of acreage, or a fair amount anyway, for
Yeah.
doing this sort of thing when you have mixed agriculture.
Especially near to a huge population
yeah,
center at
North of Los Angeles.
Mhm.
So why couldn't they be marketing their produce to restaurants or whatever? You know, it's just ridiculous. And her with the culinary blog, why couldn't she come up with some value-added products? She had some problems with growing peaches, which she was not harvesting them early enough. They were getting pecked like crazy by the birds, and then she was just feeding them to the chickens because they were pecked. Well, you know, you can't sell the pecked ones to people, but you could cut off the pecked part and make some peach cobbler or make some
Peach jam. Peach
or
marmalade,
whatever. It's so
they call it.
easy to do something with it, but no, she's just throwing it to the chickens because, frankly, she's lazy. She's lazy and stupid. And she has no business being on a farm. She's not a farmer.
People don't understand. They think that the rain comes down, the sun shines, and you just put the stuff in the ground whenever you like, and you harvest it whenever you like. A farmer is on real time constraints.
Yeah. When you garden, you go, okay, this is the time to do it. I got to get on it. And no matter how exhausted you are, you get to it because you only have small windows to get things done, and you get to garden. When you garden with the environment, when you start farming with the environment, and you better be. If you're farming, you better be farming with the environment. But you really get to know, as a gardener, you get to know nature. You get to know when it's time to do things. You get to have a feeling, oh, it's going to rain, or whatever, right? And hopefully not while we're doing this. but you get to feel, you know, you can feel what's in the air. You know, you watch before the rain, you can see the ants are scurrying around crazy on the sidewalk and stuff, and you go, oh yeah, they can sense the electrical thing or whatever. But after a while, you have a sort of sense about things too. And then you really know, oh, well, I'm gardening with nature. I'm living with nature. I'm living a more natural life, you know. And somehow the world of clocks and calendars, you know, with various months and days and whatever, weeks, and it doesn't matter anymore. It's you can feel, oh, this is when I do this and this is when I do that and whatever. What was I going to say about this? Boy, there's so much.
Well, They started out with a business plan. They
Yeah.
showed it all. It looked impressive, but you know,
They had
farms
no
aren't
business
about
doing
money.
this business.
You know, like it would have been a business plan. These guys were such hosers.
Yeah.
They showed a piggy bank cartoon.
Like they had no money, right?
No money.
Oh, we have no money, but we want to have this farm. Anyway, so here they show this one I'd put ahead of this, Life on the Farm, which is, I put this one on top of this one in the stack. And it's about Charles Carson. And I guess he made a bunch of videos, and it's interesting. I want to see his actual videos straight through. This is a documentary about his videos, and they showed little bits of it and whatever. But he shows things like a calf being born, and this one you see things being born too. Yeah, so that's kind of neat. And you see there was a lamb that was born with its intestines on the outside. Poor thing. So some sad things in here, but also the guy, I don't know, they want their chickens to be just free range all over the place, and coyotes or coyotes, however you want to say it, are getting at it.
Were they leaving them out overnight?
I don't know, because always, like my grandma, she'd put them in the hen house and that'd be locked up tight. There was no way anything was getting at them, right? And that's what you do. You gotta put them away. It's for their own good. They want to be. They want to be safe. So you have this little hen house where you have nest boxes. So they all go in there and they have their nests, and they're very happy. And they're protected and safe, and you don't have to worry about critters getting at them. Because otherwise, you're not a farmer. You're irresponsible. And so I don't know how many deaths of animals they were responsible for. So many. Because they were really bad at farming. They had way too much. They're talking about, oh, we want to have so much diversity and da da da. And really they don't. Because they might have diversity of plant species there. But they have a whole bunch of sheep, and they have
they're all the
a whole
same
bunch of
breed.
and whatever. And it's like, you only have 2 acres of land, and you have this garden, and you have way too many livestock.
200 acres
200.
of land, but still.
Oh, did I say? What did I say?
You said 2. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm tired. So yeah, I knew it was 200. So you couldn't do anything on it.
Just wanted to make sure that they knew.
But yeah, so they had way too many animals on this land, and so anybody who's actually knows something is looking at this going, what's your water, your groundwater going to be like, and all this from all these animals. What this is going to, like they talked about in this, they talked about livestock runoff and fertilizer and runoff and stuff like that, and they're not using that. They're using the manure, and that's great, but there'd be just
like
too much of it.
The woman said she'd read all
small area. Yeah,
she'd read all the books about
agriculture, and it's like, no, you couldn't. You could be reading your whole life, and you wouldn't get through them. So obviously she hadn't. I don't know, maybe she read all the books that they had on the shelf at Cole's bookstore, or Chapters or something. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I don't think you'd be able to find terribly much in just your local library.
So honestly, when I watch this, I think that what they managed to get somebody to invest in their idea. Oh, so somebody to buy them a farm and buy them all the fruit trees for the orchards and buildings and everything. And honestly, I think the idea was not for the farm. It was for making this video and making agriculture, what do you call it? Retreat or something? Like when agro-tourism? I think that's what this is about. And this is like an ad for agro-tourism.
Maybe.
Really, I think that's what...
You come out and help on the farm? You figure that's it?
Well, they had some people come and help on the farm, and they had,
I hadn't heard about that part.
Yeah, they had other people working for them and stuff like that.
These guys are just parasites.
Totally. Mm-hmm. They're just losers.
Now, it should be pointed out, after they had that thing that showed the piggy bank getting broken. There was nothing inside
Yeah.
of it. Hopefully they were exaggerating, but my suspicion is they're actually in the red, because that's what most people are in the United States.
But
Then they showed, and they didn't talk much about it.
they didn't tell how much they spent, how much the farm cost, how much all. They didn't tell any of that, right? And they didn't
No.
tell you. They were showing, oh, we're selling all this stuff, making like, oh, we're successful farmers now.
They never showed
They
you
never
a bank
showed
statement
anything about how much they're making. They
Yeah.
never showed whether they actually paid back their investors or any of that.
One of the key things, I was just leading up to that, there is a transitional stage from being broke and piggy bank being broke and getting stuff from investors. And that's when they got their family and friends together. And we didn't
Yeah.
hear anything more about that. Oh, the next thing is they
Yeah.
jumped to the investors. And that's a family that stayed together because they didn't come up with the goods. Because when you borrow from family, you're taking a grant if you're
I
the
don't
average
know what
person.
happened with this. And yeah, their farm in the end, it looked better than what they started out with, environmentally speaking.
Well, they got
but-
a big flood of rain.
So maybe
Well,
not
they
all bad.
lucked out.
They did luck out. A lot of the time they did luck out. But, yeah, they're morons. So, A Life on the Farm, this guy, he was an actual farmer. He knew what he was doing. But this is not really about farming so much. It's more about life and death on the farm. And some people in this were talking about the guy and saying, oh, he was kind of crazy or whatever. He went, no, I didn't get that. He had a different outlook on death and whatever, but I thought it was beautiful. I really did. So
I'd even be suspicious of some people being classed as crazy by, especially doctors. But
I mean, he was a wonderful person. He was caring for his brother and his mom and his dad.
but people who go running
The
their
animals.
mouths about other people being crazy, they're the ones who are crazy. What they're doing is like witch hunting, modern day style. They can't have the people killed as witches, but that's what they're doing.
I should say that Meet the Future, I can't really say that this is bottom of the stack because I couldn't watch it. The video kept skipping. So it was just like, I finally had enough of trying and took it off. Now, Getaway, this is a Nick Frost. He wrote it, he produced it, and he's starring in it. And I love him. But it's fiction, so it's just not as important. I found it entertaining, but yeah, I don't know.
Well, it's important to be entertained,
Yeah.
but that's about it.
Okay, 53 seconds to talk about whatever you want about anything in that stack.
Yeah. Have I seen anything by him? He looks kind of like a funny guy.
Yeah, you've seen him with Simon Pegg.
Oh,
Anyway.
I don't know who Simon Pegg is, but I can
Yeah,
probably
he's
guess.
great.
He's a funny guy.
Yep.
Anyway.
Oh, he's the guy that reminds you of Bruce. Now you
Which,
know,
this
right?
guy?
No, Simon
Yeah.
Pegg
Yeah,
reminds you of
oh,
Bruce,
yeah,
and he's
okay.
the one who was
There
on
we
the Simon
go.
Pegg movie.
Yeah, we won't say which Bruce it is, but Bruce is a nice
Like,
guy,
yeah.
and he's funny. He's got a good sense of humor. He laughs at himself.
Yeah. So I guess that's that. I don't know.
Anyway, yeah, the main one I focused on was those amateurs, shamateurs, really.
We kept going, oh no!